Welcome back. Tonight, we're exploring the story of Fallout New Vegas in a calm and relaxed way. If you enjoy this kind of content, like the video and subscribe. Let's begin. Fallout New Vegas, complete story, the Courier's journey. The story begins in the year 2281 in the Mojave wasteland. A courier working for the Mojave Express receives a special delivery job, a platinum chip that must be delivered to the New Vegas Strip. This courier, traveling along the northern road toward New Vegas, never reaches the destination. Near the town of Goodsprings, the courier is ambushed by three great khans and a man in a checkered suit. The man, later identified as Benny, takes the platinum chip from the courier's possession. Benny speaks briefly before shooting the courier twice in the head, leaving the body in a shallow grave. The great khans bury the courier, and the group departs with their prize. A local Securitron robot named Victor witnesses the incident. Victor digs up the courier's body and brings it to Dr. Mitchell in Goodsprings. Dr. Mitchell, a former vault dweller and the town's physician, performs surgery and somehow saves the courier's life. After several days of recovery, the courier awakens with no memory of who shot them or why. Dr. Mitchell helps the courier recover and provides basic medical assessment. He gives the courier a Pip-Boy 3000, a wrist-mounted computer device, and some basic supplies. The courier learns about the attack from the townspeople and from Sunny Smiles, a local resident who helps train newcomers in survival skills. The town's saloon owner, Trudy, provides information about the attack. She mentions that a group of men matching the description passed through Goodsprings recently. The courier learns that one man wore a checkered suit and traveled with great khans toward New Vegas. This begins the courier's pursuit of answers. Before leaving Goodsprings, the courier becomes involved in a dispute between the townspeople and a group of powder gangers, escaped convicts from the NCR correctional facility. The powder gangers want to punish a man named Ringo, a merchant hiding in the town. The courier can choose to help defend the town or assist the powder gangers. Regardless of the choice, this conflict introduces the courier to the various factions controlling the Mojave wasteland. Journey to New Vegas. The courier travels south toward Primm, a small town that once thrived on pre-war tourism. Primm has been overrun by more powder gangers who have taken hostages and occupied the town's casino. The townspeople are trapped in the Vicky and Vance casino, unable to reclaim their settlement. Deputy Beagle, a lawman from Primm, was captured by the powder gangers and held in the Bison Steve Hotel. The courier can rescue Beagle, who provides valuable information about the man in the checkered suit. Beagle saw Benny pass through Primm, heading toward Novak, a town further south. This confirmation gives the courier a clear trail to follow. The courier can also help Primm by finding them a new sheriff. Three options exist. Reprogram a broken Securitron named Primm Slim, convince the new California Republic to protect the town, or recruit a prisoner from the NCR correctional facility. Each choice affects Primm's future and the courier's relationship with various factions. Moving south, the courier passes through Mojave Outpost, an NCR border checkpoint. The outpost is staffed by NCR rangers and troopers who monitor traffic into and out of the Mojave. The rangers are concerned about increased activity from Caesar's Legion, a slaver army from the east. The Legion has been conquering tribes and building power across the Colorado River. The courier learns more about the regional situation. The new California Republic, a democratic nation from the west, has expanded into the Mojave to secure Hoover Dam and its power supply. Caesar's Legion opposes them, seeking to conquer New Vegas and control the dam for their own purposes. Between these powers stands Mr. House, the mysterious ruler of New Vegas, who controls an army of Securitron robots, Novak and the Trail. The town of Novak sits in the shadow of a giant dinosaur statue, a remnant of pre-war roadside attractions. The town serves as a stopover for travelers and traders. The courier arrives seeking information about Benny. At the Dino D Light Motel, the courier can rent a room from Jeannie Mae Crawford. Investigation reveals that Manny Vargas, a former NCR sniper now working as the town's night watchman, saw Benny pass through. Manny sits in the dinosaur's mouth each night, watching the road with his sniper rifle. He has information but wants help with the town's problems first. Novak has been experiencing attacks from feral ghouls, humans mutated by radiation into mindless, violent creatures. The ghouls come from Repcon Test Site, an old rocket facility northwest of town. Manny asks the Courier to investigate the source of these attacks. At Repcon Test Site, the Courier discovers a group of non-feral ghouls, led by Jason Bright. These ghouls are not hostile. They maintain their intelligence and humanity despite their appearance. Jason Bright leads a faction called the Bright Brotherhood, who believe they must travel to a place they call the Great Beyond. They plan to launch the facility's remaining rockets to escape the wasteland. The facility is also occupied by Nightkin super mutants suffering from schizophrenia caused by prolonged stealth boy use. These Nightkin, led by a deranged mutant named Davison, search for stealth boys and attack anyone who interferes. The Courier must navigate between these groups, ultimately helping the Bright Brotherhood launch their rockets. The ghouls blast off into the sky, ending the attacks on Novak. Returning to Novak with this success, Manny Vargas shares what he knows. Benny traveled to Boulder City with the Great Khans. Boulder City is a town near Hoover Dam where NCR forces recently defeated the Legion. This new lead sends the Courier westward. Before leaving Novak, the Courier may discover a dark secret. Jeannie Mae Crawford, the motel owner, sold a woman named Carla and her husband to Legion slavers. Carla's husband, Boone, is Manny's friend and the other town sniper. Boone is consumed by grief and guilt. The Courier can help Boone discover the truth about his wife's disappearance. When evidence proves Jeannie Mae's treachery, Boone executes her with a single sniper shot. Boone, having nothing left in Novak, may join the Courier as a companion. Boulder City and the Great Khans. Boulder City was the site of the first battle of Hoover Dam, where the NCR barely defeated Caesar's Legion. The town sustained heavy damage and now houses NCR troops. When the Courier arrives, a tense situation is unfolding. A group of Great Khans has taken NCR soldiers hostage inside Boulder City's ruins. The Khans are trying to negotiate safe passage back to their territory. Lieutenant Monroe, the NCR officer in command, is preparing to assault the building. The Courier can intervene and negotiate with the Great Khans. Inside, the Courier meets Jessup, one of the Khans present at the Courier's execution. Jessup explains what happened that night near Goodsprings. Benny hired the Great Khans to help him ambush the Courier and steal the platinum chip. After the deed was done, Benny betrayed the Khans, killing several and leaving the survivors to their fate. Jessup reveals that Benny went to New Vegas, to the Tops Casino. He also mentions that another Courier was killed by the Khans previously, before the platinum chip delivery. Jessup gives the Courier a lighter that belonged to Benny, physical proof connecting him to the crime. The Courier can choose how to resolve the hostage situation, negotiate peace between the Khans and NCR, side with either faction, or let the situation turn violent. Regardless, the information is obtained. Benny is at the Tops Casino on the New Vegas Strip. The Courier may also learn about the Great Khans' larger situation. Their tribe, once powerful, has been reduced to a small group living at Red Rock Canyon. They survive through drug manufacturing and raiding, but they are pressured by both the NCR and Caesar's Legion. The Khans are descended from the Khans of California, raiders who have existed since before the Great War. Entering New Vegas, the New Vegas Strip is not easily accessed. Mr. House, the city's ruler, maintains strict control. To enter the Strip, visitors need either 2,000 caps, the standard currency of the wasteland, or a passport. The Strip is divided into 3 sections, each hosting a casino: the Tops, Gomorrah, and the Ultra Lux. Before reaching the Strip, the Courier must pass through Freeside, the slum surrounding the city. Freeside is controlled by the Kings, a gang that models themselves after pre-war Elvis impersonators. The Kings maintain order in Freeside, but tensions with the NCR refugees flooding the area are rising. The Courier can also encounter the Followers of the Apocalypse, a humanitarian organization running the old Mormon fort in Freeside. The Followers provide medical care and education to the poor. Their leader in Freeside is Julie Farkas, who struggles to help everyone despite limited resources. At the Freeside gate to the Strip, the courier is approached by a man who offers a fake passport. This can provide entry without the cap requirement. Alternatively, the courier can earn caps through work or gambling in Freeside's casinos. Once on the Strip, the courier sees Mr. House's vision, a restored pre-war Las Vegas, complete with functioning lights and security. Securitron robots patrol everywhere, ensuring no violence or chaos disrupts the peace. The 3 casinos operate under Mr. House's supervision, each run by a different tribe he recruited from the wasteland. Confrontation at the Tops. The Tops Casino is run by the chairman, the tribe that Benny belongs to. The casino's Art Deco styling and lounge music create an atmosphere of pre-war sophistication. The courier enters and quickly locates Benny, who stands on the casino floor as if nothing happened. Benny recognizes the courier immediately. He is shocked that the courier survived being shot in the head. Benny tries to appear friendly and suggests they talk privately in his suite upstairs. Benny is charming and manipulative, attempting to diffuse the situation with words rather than violence. He knows that starting a gunfight in the casino would bring Mr. House's Securitrons down on him immediately. In his suite, Benny can be confronted in multiple ways. The courier can demand answers about the platinum chip and Benny's plans. Benny reveals that he stole the chip because he discovered what it was meant to do. The chip is a key to upgrading Mr. House's Securitron army, making them virtually unstoppable. Benny wanted to use the chip himself to overthrow Mr. House and take control of New Vegas. Benny worked with a reprogrammed Securitron named Yes Man, who helped him plan the coup. However, without the chip, Benny's plan has stalled. The courier can choose how to deal with Benny: kill him immediately, sleep with him, and kill him later, force him to flee the Tops, or spare him entirely. If Benny escapes, he flees to Caesar's Legion territory, hoping to make a deal with them. Regardless of Benny's fate, the courier can access his workshop behind the Tops Casino. There, Yes Man, the reprogrammed Securitron, introduces himself. Yes, man is programmed to be helpful and cannot refuse any request. He explains Benny's entire plan and offers to help the courier take control of New Vegas instead. Yes Man reveals critical information about the Mojave's power structure. Mr. House has been planning for decades, waiting for the platinum chip to arrive so he could upgrade his Securitron army. With the upgraded army, House intends to drive both the NCR and Legion out of the Mojave and rule independently. Benny wanted to steal this plan for himself, Mr. House's offer. After dealing with Benny, the courier receives a message to visit Mr. House in the Lucky 38 casino. The Lucky 38 has been sealed for over 2 centuries. No one except Mr. House and his Securitrons has entered since the Great War. Now, Mr. House opens his door to the courier. The Lucky 38 is pristine, preserved perfectly since before the bombs fell. The courier rides an elevator to the penthouse, where Mr. House awaits. However, Mr. House does not appear in person. Instead, he communicates through a massive computer screen displaying his digitized face. Mr. House explains his history. Before the Great War, Robert House was a brilliant businessman and engineer who owned Robco Industries and built New Vegas into a technological marvel. When he calculated that nuclear war was imminent, House prepared extensively. He installed defensive systems around Las Vegas that shot down most incoming nuclear missiles, sparing the city from complete destruction. To survive, House connected himself to machines that sustain his life and amplify his mental capabilities. He has been alive for over 200 years, his body preserved in a sealed chamber, while his mind controls New Vegas through computers and robots. House has been waiting for the platinum chip, which was being manufactured before the Great War but did not arrive until now, delivered by the courier. House offers the courier a job: retrieve the platinum chip and work as his agent in the Mojave. House promises wealth, power, and a role in his vision for humanity's future. He believes that independent New Vegas, under his control, represents the best hope for rebuilding civilization. He considers both the NCR and Legion to be primitive compared to his technological solutions. House tasks the courier with several missions to secure his position. First, the platinum chip must be retrieved from wherever Benny hid it or from Benny himself. Second, The three families running the casinos must be kept in line: the chairman, the Omertas at Gomorrah, and the White Glove Society at the Ultralux. Finally, the Brotherhood of Steel, a technologically advanced military organization hiding in the region, must be dealt with. The NCR's interest. While working on the Strip, the Courier is contacted by the New California Republic. Ambassador Dennis Crocker, the NCR's chief diplomat in New Vegas, sends word that Colonel James Shue at Camp McCarran wants to speak with the Courier. Camp McCarran, an old pre-war airport, serves as the NCR's main military base in the Mojave. Thousands of troops are stationed there, preparing for Caesar's Legion's inevitable attack on Hoover Dam. The NCR knows a second battle is coming and is struggling to prepare adequate defenses. The Courier meets multiple NCR officers, each with different perspectives. Colonel Sue is a competent, honorable officer who wants to protect his troops and civilians. Lieutenant Colonel Kerry Boyd runs intelligence operations and seeks help rooting out Legion spies within the camp. Major Daughtry commands the military police and has personal stakes in fighting the Legion. The NCR is interested in the Courier for several reasons. First, the Courier has demonstrated combat effectiveness and problem-solving abilities. Second, the Courier has access to the Strip and Mister. House's confidence, providing intelligence the NCR cannot easily obtain. Third, Ambassador Crocker hopes to recruit the Courier to convince Mr. House to cooperate more fully with the NCR. The NCR offers their own vision for the Mojave's future. They want to annex New Vegas and the surrounding territory as states within the Republic. The NCR argues that democratic government, rule of law, and collective security are superior to House's dictatorship or Legion's tyranny. However, the NCR also faces internal problems: overextension, corruption, bureaucracy, and war exhaustion. The Courier can take on various missions for the NCR. These include clearing enemy positions, investigating security breaches at Camp McCarran, protecting President Aaron Kimball during his visit to Hoover Dam, and negotiating with various factions to support the NCR against the Legion. Building a positive reputation with the NCR opens the path to working directly with General Lee Oliver, the NCR's supreme military commander in the Mojave, Caesar's Legion. While investigating Benny's fate, or through other means, the Courier eventually attracts Caesar's Legion's attention. The Legion may capture the Courier, or the Courier may seek them out. Either way, the Courier is brought to the fort, Caesar's base of operations on the east side of the Colorado River. The fort is built in the ruins of a pre-war settlement. Legion soldiers, called legionaries, train and prepare for war. Slaves work everywhere, and the Legion's brutal culture is on full display. Women are treated as property. Technology is scorned as weakness, and only the strong survive. Caesar himself meets with the Courier. His real name is Edward Sallow, and he was once a follower of the Apocalypse. While on an expedition in Arizona, Sallow and his companions were captured by the Blackfoot tribe. Sallow used his knowledge to transform the Blackfoot into a military force, adopting imagery and terminology from ancient Rome. Taking the name Caesar, he built an empire through conquest and assimilation of tribes. Caesar explains his philosophy. He believes the NCR is weak because of its democratic structure, bureaucracy, and individualism. He modeled his legion on ancient Rome to create strength through unity, discipline, and absolute obedience. Caesar sees himself as a transformative historical figure who will conquer the wasteland and rebuild civilization according to his vision. Caesar has a problem. A brain tumor is killing him. He cannot trust Legion doctors or technology as his own ideology forbids it. Caesar asks the Courier to help him. He needs either the services of an autodoc, an automated medical robot, or a skilled doctor willing to perform surgery. If the Courier helps, Caesar survives. If not, he dies. And the legate Lannius assumes command. Caesar also has missions for the Courier. He wants the Brotherhood of Steel destroyed, various NCR positions weakened, and preparations made for the Legion's assault on Hoover Dam. Caesar offers the Courier a role in his Legion, though he admits the Courier will never truly be one of them. Caesar respects strength and results above all. If Benny fled to the fort, Caesar has captured him. Benny tried to negotiate with Caesar, offering the platinum chip and his services. Caesar saw through the deception and kept Benny prisoner. The Courier can determine Benny's fate: kill him in Caesar's arena, crucify him, or let Caesar decide. Working for Caesar means embracing the legion's brutal methods. The Courier witnesses and participates in their slavery, their treatment of women as breeding stock, and their complete destruction of tribal identities. However, Caesar argues that this brutality creates order and strength that will ultimately benefit humanity by ending the chaos of the wasteland. The platinum chip's purpose. If the Courier retrieves the platinum chip and returns it to Mr. House, the next phase begins. House directs the Courier to take the chip to the Securitron vault beneath the fort. This vault contains hundreds of dormant Securitrons, House's hidden army. The vault was built before the Great War as a storage facility. House has kept these Securitrons in storage for over 2 centuries, waiting for the platinum chip to arrive. The chip contains software that will upgrade all Securitrons to Mark II specifications, dramatically increasing their combat capabilities. Infiltrating the fort to access the vault requires careful planning. The Courier must either be allied with Caesar or sneak through Legion territory. Once inside the vault, the Courier uses the platinum chip to activate the upgrade. The process takes only moments, and suddenly, House's Securitron army becomes exponentially more powerful. House now has the military strength to enforce his will. He orders the Courier to destroy the Brotherhood of Steel's bunker and begin preparations for the Second Battle of Hoover Dam. House intends to wait until the NCR and Legion weaken each other, then deploy his upgraded Securitron army to drive both factions from the Mojave. Alternatively, if the Courier is working with Yes Man instead of House, the same upgrade benefits the Courier's eventual independent control of the Securitron army. Yes Man uses the chip to gain access to House's systems, preparing to transfer control to the Courier, the Brotherhood of Steel. The Brotherhood of Steel is a military organization that formed after the Great War. Founded by US Army soldiers who refused orders, the Brotherhood has spent 2 centuries collecting and preserving technology. They believe technology caused the apocalypse and must be controlled to prevent another catastrophe. The Mojave chapter of the Brotherhood is led by Elder McNamara and is hiding in Hidden Valley, an old bunker complex. The chapter is trapped, effectively under siege. Previous Elder Elijah led disastrous campaigns against the NCR, weakening the chapter severely. McNamara ordered a lockdown, and the Brotherhood has remained hidden ever since. The Courier can discover the Brotherhood through various means: following distress calls from Brotherhood patrols, being recruited by Brotherhood scouts, or finding the bunker independently. Once inside, the Brotherhood initially treats the Courier with suspicion. The Brotherhood faces internal divisions. McNamara favors caution and isolation. Head Paladin, Hardin, wants aggressive action to seize technology and resources. Other members have different views on the Brotherhood's purpose and future. The Courier can influence this internal debate and potentially install Hardin as the new Elder. The Brotherhood's technology is impressive. They wear power armor, advanced mechanized suits that enhance strength and provide superior protection. They wield energy weapons and have access to computers, medical technology, and other pre-war equipment. However, they lack supplies, suffer from low morale, and face extinction if they cannot break their isolation. Mr. House demands the Brotherhood's destruction. He views them as technological fanatics who will eventually threaten his Securitron army and his control of New Vegas. House does not negotiate or compromise on this point. The Brotherhood must be eliminated. The NCR also has hostile relations with the Brotherhood. Past conflicts resulted in heavy casualties on both sides. The NCR would prefer the Brotherhood eliminated or marginalized. The Courier faces a difficult choice: destroy the Brotherhood entirely, negotiate a truce between them and the NCR, or ignore House's orders and preserve the Brotherhood. Each choice has consequences for the region's future and the Courier's relationship with various factions. The Boomers. In the northeast, Mojave stands Nellis Air Force Base, home to the Boomers. The Boomers are a xenophobic tribe descended from vault dwellers. They possess significant artillery and explosives, which they use to shell anyone approaching their territory. The name boomers comes from their love of explosives and their artillery bombardment of intruders. The boomers' isolation makes them irrelevant to most wastelanders. However, both Mr. House and the NCR want the boomers as allies. Their firepower could be decisive in the coming battle for Hoover Dam. The Courier is tasked with making contact and securing their support. Reaching Nellis requires surviving the artillery bombardment that guards the approach. The Courier must run between shell impacts, using craters as cover. Once inside the base, the boomers are initially hostile, but allow the Courier to speak with their leader, Pearl. The boomers are led by Pearl, an elderly woman who remembers the tribe's history. They are a proud people who value self-reliance and their technological heritage. The boomers maintain pre-war aircraft and weapons, making them unusually advanced for a tribal group. To earn the boomers' trust, the Courier must help them with various tasks: defending against ant attacks, clearing mines from Lake Mead, and helping their doctor with medical issues. Most importantly, the boomers have a dream. They want to raise a sunken bomber from the bottom of Lake Mead and restore it to working condition. The bomber, a B-29 superfortress called the Lady in the Water, has been underwater since the Great War. The boomers believe if they can raise and repair it, they will possess air superiority over the entire Mojave. The Courier helps the boomers achieve this dream by installing new ballasts and helping raise the bomber from the lake. With the bomber recovered, the boomers become grateful allies. They agree to support whichever faction the Courier represents during the battle for Hoover Dam. Their artillery and bomber will provide crucial fire support during the battle. The White Glove Society. The Ultralux Casino is run by the White Glove Society, one of the three families Mr. House recruited to run his casinos. The White Gloves present themselves as sophisticated pre-war aristocrats, wearing elegant masks and serving gourmet food. However, the White Glove Society has a dark secret. Before Mr. House recruited them, the White Gloves were a cannibal tribe that survived by eating other humans. House forced them to abandon this practice as a condition of joining New Vegas. The White Gloves agreed and have maintained the facade of civilization for years. However, some members miss the old ways. The Courier discovers a plot within the White Glove Society. Mortimer, one of the society's leaders, plans to return the tribe to cannibalism. He schemes to serve human flesh at a special banquet, breaking the taboo and reintroducing the practice. Mortimer has kidnapped an investigator named Ted Gunderson and plans to serve him as the main course. The Courier can either stop Mortimer's plot or help him succeed. Stopping the plot involves rescuing Ted and exposing Mortimer's plan. Helping Mortimer requires providing a human victim, either Ted or someone else, for the banquet. The choice affects the White Glove Society's future and Mr. House's control over the casinos. The Omertas. Gomorrah Casino is run by the Omertas, another of House's three families. The Omertas were a raider tribe that House reformed, though they retain much of their violent, criminal culture. Gomorrah offers prostitution, drugs, and entertainment to strip visitors. The Courier discovers that the Omertas are planning something dangerous. Cachino, a mid-level Omerta boss, is secretly working against the family's leaders, Big Sal and Nero. Cachino knows that Big Sal and Nero are plotting to attack the strip itself, betraying Mr. House. Investigation reveals that Caesar's Legion has been supplying the Omertas with weapons and explosives. Big Sal and Nero plan to launch a suicide attack on the strip, killing as many people as possible and weakening House's control. They have been promised rewards by the Legion for this treachery. The Courier must decide how to handle this conspiracy. Options include exposing Big Sal and Nero, killing them, blackmailing them into abandoning the plot, or even helping them succeed. The choice affects whether the Omertas remain loyal to House or become enemies during the battle for Hoover Dam. Other factions and settlements. Throughout the Mojave, numerous smaller factions and settlements require attention. The Courier can help these communities, gaining allies and resources for the final battle. Prim has already been discussed, but other towns face similar challenges. Novak needs protection from Legion raids. Goodsprings must recover from the Powder Ganger attack. Jacobstown, a settlement of super mutants in the mountains northwest of New Vegas, faces persecution and internal problems related to Nightkin insanity. The Great Khans at Red Rock Canyon represent a significant faction. The Khans can be persuaded to support the NCR, the Legion, or remain neutral. Their drug manufacturing operation supplies both medicine and recreational drugs throughout the Mojave. The Courier can help the Khans with their problems and influence their decision for the coming battle. The followers of the Apocalypse in Freeside desperately need supplies and support. Helping them improves conditions for Freeside's poorest residents. The followers prefer peace and education over military conquest, and their support provides humanitarian benefits rather than military advantages. The King's gang in Freeside has been clashing with NCR refugees. The King, the gang's leader, wants to maintain order, but is concerned about NCR influence. The Courier can broker peace between the Kings and NCR, turn them against each other, or side with one faction over the other. The Powder Gangers remain a problem throughout the region. These escaped convicts raid travelers and attack settlements. The Courier can either eliminate them, leave them alone, or even work with some of their groups for mutual benefit. Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam is the Mojave's most valuable asset. The dam generates enormous amounts of electricity, far more than the region needs. This power attracts both the NCR and Caesar's Legion, each wanting to control this resource. The dam itself is a massive pre-war structure that survived the nuclear war. The NCR currently controls the dam, using its power to support their expansion and provide electricity to their citizens back in California. The dam is also the site where the NCR defeated Caesar's Legion in the first Battle of Hoover Dam years earlier. That battle was a near disaster for the NCR. Caesar's Legion nearly captured the dam, and only the actions of Chief Hanlon, an NCR Ranger, commander, and his veteran Rangers saved the day. Hanlon ordered a tactical retreat that lured the Legion into a trap, where NCR forces ambushed and massacred them. The Legion's commander, the previous legate, failed so spectacularly that Caesar had him burned and covered in pitch as punishment. Now, both sides prepare for the second battle of Hoover Dam. The Legion has rebuilt its strength and awaits Caesar's order to attack. The NCR has fortified the dam and surrounding positions, but struggles with supply lines and troop morale. Mr. House watches from New Vegas, waiting for the right moment to intervene with his Securitron army. The Courier visits Hoover Dam multiple times, meeting key figures and understanding the strategic situation. The dam's visitor center, the intake towers, the power plants, and the lower levels all play roles in the coming battle. President Kimball's visit. President Aaron Kimball, the leader of the new California Republic, makes a visit to Hoover Dam to boost troop morale. Kimball is a former general who won fame through military victories. As president, he has pushed aggressive expansion policies that led the NCR into the Mojave and other territories. Caesar's Legion has learned of Kimball's visit and plans to assassinate him. The assassination would demoralize the NCR and possibly change the Republic's political landscape. Caesar assigns this mission to a team of Legion infiltrators who have positioned themselves within the NCR military and civilian structures. The Courier is asked by the NCR to help protect President Kimball. Multiple threats must be identified and neutralized. A sniper positioned in a nearby tower, a bomb planted on the president's vertibird helicopter, Legion soldiers disguised as NCR troops, and other infiltrators positioned throughout the dam. The Courier can choose to protect Kimball successfully, allow the assassination to proceed, or even kill Kimball personally. Each outcome significantly affects the NCR's morale and combat effectiveness during the final battle. If Kimball dies, General Oliver assumes greater control, but the NCR's political will to fight may weaken. If Kimball survives, the NCR remains committed, but Kimball's controversial policies continue. The endgame approaches. As preparations for the second battle of Hoover Dam conclude, the Courier must make a final choice about which faction to support. 4 main paths exist: Mr. House's autocratic independence, NCR annexation, Caesar's Legion conquest, or an independent New Vegas led by Yes Man and the Courier. Each faction requires different preparations. Working for Mr. House means securing the 3 families' loyalty, destroying the Brotherhood of Steel, and upgrading the Securitron army. The NCR path involves helping their military operations, strengthening their alliances, and weakening Legion positions. Caesar's Legion requires destroying NCR positions, assassinating key leaders, and ensuring the Legion's overwhelming advantage. The independent path means using Yes Man to take control of House's systems and preparing to fight both the NCR and Legion. The Courier's choices throughout the Mojave determine which factions provide support during the battle. The Boomers can provide artillery and air support. The Brotherhood of Steel, if spared and allied, can send paladins in power armor. The Khans might support any faction based on the Courier's persuasion. The Enclave remnants, survivors of the destroyed Enclave government, can be recruited to fight with their advanced technology and power armor. The Enclave remnants are a particularly powerful asset. Led by Arcade Gannon, a doctor traveling with the followers of the Apocalypse, these former Enclave soldiers have been hiding in the Mojave for years. If the Courier befriends Arcade and proves trustworthy, he reveals his true identity and his friend's existence. The remnants are elderly, but still deadly in their advanced power armor. They can tip the balance in the final battle, but require careful persuasion to fight. The Second Battle of Hoover Dam. The battle begins when Caesar's Legion launches its massive assault across the Colorado River. Thousands of legionaries attack Hoover Dam simultaneously with strikes against other NCR positions throughout the Mojave. The Legion employs human wave tactics, overwhelming defenders through sheer numbers and fanatical determination. If Caesar survived his surgery, he leads the Legion strategy from the fort. If he died, Legate Lanius commands. Lanius is Caesar's greatest general, a brutal warrior known as the Monster of the East. Where Caesar was intelligent and calculating, Lanius is pure martial fury. He has never lost a battle and crushes anyone who opposes him. The Courier arrives at Hoover Dam as the battle rages. The exact sequence of events depends on which faction the Courier supports, but certain elements remain constant. The Legion breaks through NCR defenses at the dam and begins pushing toward the visitor center and power plant. NCR forces fight desperately to hold their positions. If supporting Mr. House or an independent New Vegas, the Courier activates the upgraded Securitron army. Hundreds of robots roll onto the battlefield, their weapon systems destroying Legion forces. The Securitrons push both the Legion and NCR forces back, clearing the dam for House's control. If supporting the NCR, the Courier helps coordinate defenses and repel the Legion assault. The battle is fierce, with heavy casualties on both sides. Eventually, combined NCR forces and the Courier's allies push the Legion back. The Courier may confront Legate Lanius directly, either killing him in combat or convincing him through dialogue that the battle is unwinnable and the Legion should withdraw. If supporting the Legion, the Courier helps break NCR defenses. Key positions are sabotaged, NCR leaders are eliminated, and Legion forces overwhelm the defenders. The Courier faces General Oliver, the NCR's supreme commander, who refuses to retreat despite the hopeless situation. Oliver can be killed or convinced to withdraw, ending NCR resistance. Regardless of path, the battle's climax occurs at the Legate's camp or inside the visitor center. The Courier faces the final challenge, securing control of Hoover Dam for the chosen faction. House is ending. If the Courier secured victory for Mr. House, New Vegas becomes an independent city-state under House's absolute rule. House immediately begins implementing his long-term plans for rebuilding civilization. House's Securitron army patrols the Mojave, enforcing his laws and protecting trade routes. The three families continue operating their casinos under House's supervision. House promises that within 20 years, he will have colonized other planets. Within 100 years, he claims humanity will achieve technological transcendence. The NCR withdraws from the Mojave, humiliated but intact. Caesar's Legion retreats east, weakened by the defeat. The Mojave's smaller factions face House's judgment. Those who helped him are rewarded with prosperity and protection, while those who opposed him are destroyed or exiled. Mr. House proves to be an effective but authoritarian ruler. Crime decreases, trade flourishes, and technology advances rapidly. However, freedom is limited, dissent is crushed, and House's vision is imposed regardless of what people want. The Courier becomes House's most trusted agent, enforcing his will throughout the wasteland. NCR ending. If the Courier secured victory for the NCR, New Vegas and the Mojave become territories of the Republic. The NCR annexes the region and begins the slow process of integration. General Oliver takes credit for the victory, increasing his political power. The NCR military occupies New Vegas, and bureaucrats arrive to establish civil administration. Taxes are imposed, laws are enforced, and the region begins transformation into NCR society. The Mojave's transformation under NCR rule is mixed. Security improves as NCR rangers and troopers patrol the roads. Democracy and legal rights spread to areas that previously had none. However, corruption, bureaucracy, and heavy-handed governance create resentment among locals. The NCR's resources are stretched thin, and many Mojave communities feel neglected. The Courier's specific actions determine outcomes for various groups. If the Courier helped the Kings make peace with the NCR, Freeside stabilizes. If the Khans were convinced to leave the Mojave, they migrate north to Wyoming. If the Brotherhood was spared and allied with the NCR, they enter an uneasy truce. Each faction and settlement faces consequences based on the Courier's choices. Caesar's legion retreats back across the Colorado River, weakened but not destroyed. The Mojave campaign's failure creates instability within the legion. Without Caesar's unifying presence, various legates might fight for succession. The threat remains, but the NCR has bought time to fortify its position. Legion ending. If the Courier secured victory for Caesar's legion, the Mojave is conquered and transformed according to Caesar's vision. The legion's brutal methods are fully implemented across the region. New Vegas is occupied by legion forces. The casinos are shut down or repurposed. Technology is destroyed or strictly controlled. The population is divided into categories. Men are pressed into legion service or slave labor. Women become slaves and property, and children are indoctrinated into legion culture. Tribal identities are erased, and everyone is forced to become Roman. The NCR is driven entirely from the Mojave. Their defeat at Hoover Dam is catastrophic, potentially destabilizing the Republic itself. The Legion now controls enormous resources and can threaten NCR territories directly. Caesar, if alive, consolidates his empire. Lanius, if in command, proves to be even more aggressive and destructive. The Mojave's communities are destroyed or assimilated. Good Springs, Novak, Prim, and other settlements are emptied. Their populations are enslaved or scattered. Only those completely obedient to the Legion survive with any quality of life. The region becomes part of Caesar's growing empire, its unique character erased under Roman uniformity. The Courier's specific choices determine their own fate and the fate of specific factions. Some groups might be completely annihilated, while others are absorbed into the Legion. The Courier becomes either a trusted officer in the Legion, or, if Caesar died, might face suspicion from Lanius's more brutish regime. Independent ending. If the Courier chose independence using Yes Man, New Vegas becomes a truly independent city-state under the Courier's control. This path offers the most flexibility and variety based on the Courier's earlier choices. Yes Man takes over the Lucky 38 and all of House's systems, but now serves the Courier. The Securitron army enforces the Courier's will rather than House's predetermined plans. New Vegas is free from both NCR and Legion control, creating a third power in the region. The NCR and Legion both withdraw, neither able to claim the Mojave. Both factions are weakened by the battle and must accept the new status quo. The Courier becomes the de facto ruler of the Mojave, though the exact nature of this rule varies. If the Courier was benevolent, New Vegas becomes a prosperous, independent nation where freedom and security balance. If the Courier was ruthless, it becomes another autocracy, with the Courier replacing House. The Mojave's communities experience outcomes directly tied to how the Courier treated them previously. The three families' fates depend on earlier choices. If their plots were stopped, they continue operating their casinos under the Courier's supervision. If their conspiracies succeeded, New Vegas suffers chaos and damage. The Securitrons maintain order, but the Courier must actively manage the region's problems. Yes Man undergoes a personality upgrade that makes him more assertive. The exact meaning of this is ambiguous, leaving questions about whether Yes Man will truly remain obedient or might develop his own agenda. The ending suggests uncertainty about the long-term viability of the independent New Vegas' individual fates. Beyond the main ending, the stories of individual characters and factions conclude based on the Courier's actions throughout the game. The followers of the Apocalypse face different outcomes based on who controls New Vegas. Under House or an uncaring independent Courier, they are overrun with refugees and struggle to help everyone. Under the NCR, they gain some support but clash with bureaucracy. Under the Legion, they are destroyed or scattered. The Great Khans either remain in the Mojave as raiders, leave to create a new empire in Wyoming, or are destroyed entirely. Their fate depends on the Courier's interactions with them and their choice of which faction to support. The Brotherhood of Steel survives if the Courier found a way to preserve them, but faces uncertain futures. Under NCR rule, with a truce, they slowly decline as their ideology conflicts with the Republic. Under House or Legion, they are destroyed unless the Courier defied orders. In an independent ending, they might thrive or be marginalized. The Boomers return to Nellis Air Force Base with their bomber, becoming more isolated or more integrated with the Mojave, depending on earlier events. The Kings either rule Freeside peacefully, engage in ongoing conflict with NCR, or are destroyed. The settlements throughout the Mojave prosper, struggle, or are destroyed based on protection provided and faction control. Individual companions who traveled with the Courier face their own conclusions. Boone either finds peace or remains consumed by guilt and hatred. Arcade Gannon either continues his humanitarian work or flees the Mojave in disgust. Veronica struggles with the Brotherhood's future. Raoul the Ghoul mechanic finds new purpose or continues his aimless existence. Lily the Nightkin finds mental peace or succumbs to schizophrenia. Cass the Caravaner either rebuilds her life or drinks herself to death. Minor characters throughout the Mojave experience consequences. Fantastic, the incompetent technician at Helios 1, continues his buffoonery or faces reality. The misfits at Camp Golf become effective soldiers or remain useless. Motor Runner and the Powder Gangers at Vault 19 are destroyed or escape. Each character's fate ties to the Courier's choices. The Courier's legacy. The Courier's journey from a grave near Goodsprings to determining the Mojave's future is complete. The person shot in the head and left for dead became the most influential figure in the region. The Courier's actions decided whether democracy, autocracy, tyranny, or chaos would define the Mojave's future. The Platinum Chip, the object that started everything, fulfilled its purpose. Whether it upgraded House's army, empowered the Courier, or became irrelevant, its delivery changed history. Benny's betrayal and attempted power grab failed, but his actions set events in motion that transformed the entire region. Hoover Dam continues generating power, but who benefits from that power depends entirely on the Courier's final choice. The Colorado River flows as it always has, but the civilizations on its banks have changed forever. New Vegas stands as a monument to pre-war civilization, but whether it represents humanity's future or past remains to be seen. The Mojave Wasteland, once a forgotten corner of the post-apocalyptic world, becomes crucial to humanity's future. The Courier, a simple deliverer of packages, becomes the person who shaped that future. The story that began with a shallow grave ends with the Courier standing atop Hoover Dam, surveying a region forever changed by their choices. The various factions retreat, consolidate, or advance based on the battle's outcome. The NCR returns to California or establishes permanent control. Caesar's Legion retreats to Arizona or spreads west. Mr. House implements his vision or dies forgotten in his chamber. The Mojave's independent communities either prosper with freedom or suffer under occupation. Years pass, and the Mojave story continues beyond the Courier's immediate actions. The Second Battle of Hoover Dam becomes legend, and the Courier's role grows with each retelling. Some remember the courier as a savior who brought peace and prosperity. Others remember a destroyer who brought tyranny or chaos. The truth lies in the specific choices made across hundreds of miles and dozens of communities. The wasteland continues, harsh and unforgiving. But in the Mojave, something changed. Whether that change leads toward genuine civilization or just another form of barbarism depends on who you ask and which ending occurred. The Courier story is complete, but the Mojave story continues, shaped by the foundation the Courier built. The tale of Fallout New Vegas concludes not with certainty, but with possibility. The Courier proved that individuals can change history, for better or worse. The choices made echo through the wasteland, and the consequences ripple outward far beyond Hoover Dam. The simple delivery job that began the story ended with the Courier delivering the Mojave's future, though the exact nature of that future varies with each decision made along the way. The road to victory. Details of the final campaign. Before the Second Battle of Hoover Dam begins, the Courier spends weeks or even months preparing the Mojave for the coming conflict. Every faction contacted, every quest completed, and every alliance forged contributes to the final outcome. Ranger Station Charlie and the Colorado River. The NCR maintains several ranger stations along the Colorado River, monitoring Legion activity on the eastern bank. Ranger Station Charlie, positioned near the river crossing, becomes a critical defensive position. The Courier can help reinforce these stations, improving NCR readiness for the Legion assault. The Legion maintains camps on their side of the river, the Fortification Hill where Caesar resides, Cottonwood Cove where Legion boats ferry troops across the water, and various forward positions hidden in the hills. The Courier can sabotage these positions, weakening the Legion before the battle begins. Cottonwood Cove serves as the Legion's primary crossing point into NCR territory. Legion soldiers and supplies flow through this location constantly. The Courier can infiltrate the cove, destroy their boats, eliminate their leadership, or poison their supplies. Each action reduces the Legion's offensive capability. Camp Forlorn Hope in Nelson. Camp Forlorn Hope, an NCR military camp, faces constant Legion pressure. The camp is undermanned and demoralized after suffering heavy casualties. The nearby town of Nelson was captured by the Legion, and NCR soldiers were crucified as warnings. The Courier can help restore Camp Forlorn Hope's effectiveness. Rescuing or mercy-killing the crucified soldiers at Nelson improves morale. Clearing Legion forces from the area secures the NCR's southern flank. Helping the camp's medical staff saves wounded soldiers who can return to duty. Nelson itself represents the Legion's cruelty. The town's civilians were enslaved or killed, and the crucified NCR soldiers hang dying along the highway. Dead Sea, a Legion centurion, commands the occupation. The Courier can kill Dead Sea and his troops, though doing so creates a blood feud with the Legion. Searchlight and the radiation. Camp Searchlight was an NCR military base before the Legion destroyed it. Legion from Antari, the Legion's equivalent of spies and special forces, infiltrated the base and detonated radioactive materials throughout the facility. The resulting contamination killed most NCR personnel and turned the area into a radioactive hellscape. The few NCR survivors became ghouls, driven mad by the radiation. These feral ghouls now wander Searchlight, attacking anyone who approaches. The Legion achieved total victory without losing a single soldier, demonstrating their cunning and willingness to use any tactic. The Courier can enter Searchlight to recover NCR supplies and intelligence. The radiation is intense, requiring protective equipment or radiation resistance. Private Edwards, one of the few sane ghoul survivors, guards the fire station and can provide information about what happened. Logan, the Legion Frumentarius who orchestrated Searchlight's destruction, hides in the nearby Searchlight airport. The Courier can hunt down Logan, recovering his report to Caesar and learning details of Legion planning. Eliminating Logan avenges Searchlight and removes a dangerous Legion operative, Nipton and Vulpes Incolta. The town of Nipton provides another demonstration of Legion methods. When the Courier arrives, the town is burning and bodies hang from crosses. Vulpes Incolta, Caesar's most effective frumentarius, orchestrated Nipton's destruction as a message to the NCR and wasteland communities. Volpes explains that Nipton was corrupt, with Mayor Stain selling out travelers to either the Legion or powder gangers, depending on who paid more. Volpes discovered this corruption and decided to make an example of the entire town. He held a lottery. Some townspeople were crucified, some were executed, some were enslaved, and a few were released to spread word of what happened. Volpes Incolta is intelligent and cultured, speaking eloquently about the Legion's mission. He sees himself as a teacher, using terror to educate the wasteland about Caesar's power. Volpes does not fear the Courier and calmly explains his actions before departing with his Legion squad. The Courier can choose to attack Volpes at Nipton or let him leave. Killing Volpes earns Caesar's permanent hatred and eliminates a dangerous enemy. Sparing him means facing Volpes again at Hoover Dam during the final battle. Volpes serves as Caesar's personal representative and appears at key moments throughout the Courier's journey. The sacking of Nipton. The details of Nipton's fall reveal Legion's strategy. Volpes arrived with a small force and surrounded the town at night. He offered Mayor Stain a deal: surrender the town peacefully and participate in a lottery. The alternative was total annihilation with no survivors. Mayor Stain, cowardly and greedy, accepted immediately. He helped Volpes organize the townspeople, believing he could negotiate special treatment for himself. The lottery began, and Volpes divided the population into groups based on random draw. The first group was crucified alive along the highway. These people died slowly over several days, serving as warnings to travelers. The second group was executed quickly, their bodies left in the town streets. The third group was enslaved and marched back to Legion territory. The fourth group, the smallest, was released unharmed to spread word of what happened. Mayor Stain, who believed his cooperation would save him, was among those crucified. Volpes explained that collaborators and traitors deserve no mercy. If Stain would betray his own people, he would betray anyone. The mayor died slowly, his screams echoing across the wasteland. One survivor, Boxcars, a powder ganger, was crippled and left in the general store with a small supply of medical drugs. Volpes left him alive specifically to tell others about the Legion's power. Boxcars is traumatized, in constant pain, and begs for medicine or death, the whitewash. The area around Hoover Dam contains numerous smaller locations that factor into the battle. The Whitewash is a small settlement near Boulder City where NCR refugees have gathered. These people fled Legion territory or other dangerous areas seeking NCR protection. The settlement struggles with limited resources and frequent attacks. The Courier can help defend the Whitewash, improving civilian safety and gaining NCR favor. Alternatively, the Courier can ignore the refugees or even facilitate Legion raids against them. Wolfhorn Ranch and Aerotech Office Park. These locations house more NCR refugees. Wolfhorn Ranch, a pre-war farming facility, shelters families trying to establish new lives. Aerotech Office Park, an old business complex, houses refugees in cramped conditions. Both locations face food shortages, medical needs, and security threats. The Courier can help these communities by providing supplies, clearing nearby threats, or negotiating with NCR officials for more support. These actions do not directly affect the battle, but demonstrate the human cost of the NCR Legion conflict. Thousands of civilians have been displaced, and their suffering continues regardless of which army controls Hoover Dam. The Mojave outpost situation. Ranger Jackson commands the Mojave outpost, the NCR's gateway into the region. The outpost faces a problem. Death claws have nested along the highway, making travel extremely dangerous. These creatures, terrifying predators created through pre-war genetic engineering, can tear apart even armored soldiers. The death claws prevent caravans from reaching New Vegas, strangling trade and NCR supply lines. Ranger Jackson cannot spare troops to clear the nests, as he needs every soldier to defend against Legion attacks. The Courier can eliminate the death claws, reopening the trade route. Quarry Junction, northwest of Sloan, contains the largest death claw nest. The quarry workers fled when Deathclaws moved in, and now the massive excavation site belongs to the creatures. Clearing Quarry Junction requires significant combat ability, but doing so saves lives and restores the vital highway connection, Helios 1 and Archimedes 2. Helios 1 is a massive solar power plant that the NCR captured from the Brotherhood of Steel years ago. The facility could provide enormous amounts of electricity, but the NCR cannot get it working properly. Lieutenant Haggerty oversees the plant with minimal staff and no technical expertise. Fantastic. A worker at Helios 1 claims to understand the facility, but is actually incompetent. He uses technical sounding words without understanding their meaning. The Courier, with proper skills or help from Arcade Gannon, can actually restore Helios 1 to functionality. The facility has a secret, Archimedes 2, a pre-war orbital weapons platform. The plant's true purpose was not just power generation, but controlling this space-based laser. With the right knowledge and the Euclid C-Finder targeting device, the Courier can activate Archimedes 2, gaining access to devastating orbital strikes. The Courier must choose how to configure Helios 1. Options include sending power to the NCR, distributing it evenly across the region, or directing maximum energy to Archimedes 2. Each choice affects different communities and provides different strategic advantages. The Lucky 38 VIP Lounge. Inside Mr. House's casino, the Courier discovers advanced facilities. The VIP Lounge contains luxury suites preserved since before the Great War. More importantly, House's personal computer systems provide access to vast information databases and control systems. The Courier can access House's mainframe, learning about his plans and capabilities. House has been monitoring the entire Mojave through his Securitron network, gathering intelligence on every faction. His files contain detailed analyses of the NCR, Legion, Brotherhood, and countless other groups. The most important discovery is the medical pod containing Mr. House's physical body. House connected himself to life support machines over 2 centuries ago, and his body has been preserved in this chamber ever since. The pod is sealed and protected, but someone with determination could access it. If the Courier works against House, opening the pod is necessary to truly kill him. The pod contains a wizened, ancient man, Robert House himself, somehow still alive after 200 years. Exposing House to the outside air kills him within minutes, as his immune system cannot handle normal bacteria after centuries of isolation. Killing House this way is permanent and irreversible. Yes, man takes over House's systems, but House's genius and vision die with him. The Courier must decide whether House's authoritarian control is better or worse than the uncertainty of independent rule. Caesar's tumor. Caesar's brain tumor affects him severely. He experiences headaches, dizziness, and occasional blackouts. The tumor grows steadily, and without treatment, Caesar will die within months. This creates a crisis for the Legion, as Caesar's personality cult holds the entire empire together. The Legion's ideology rejects advanced medicine as weakness. Caesar built the Legion on strength, discipline, and rejection of pre-war technology. Seeking medical help for his tumor contradicts everything Caesar teaches. However, Caesar is pragmatic enough to understand that his death would destroy everything he built. The Courier can help Caesar in several ways. The followers of the apocalypse have an autodoc at the old Mormon fort in Freeside. This automated surgical machine can perform the delicate brain surgery Caesar needs. However, stealing or borrowing the autodoc requires either deception or violence against the followers. Alternatively, the Courier can use their own medical skills to perform surgery on Caesar. This requires exceptional medical knowledge and steady hands. The surgery is dangerous, and failure could kill Caesar immediately. However, success earns Caesar's deep respect and gratitude. If the Courier refuses to help or botches the surgery, Caesar dies. Legate Lanius assumes command of the Legion. Lanius is purely a warrior, lacking Caesar's intelligence and long-term vision. Under Lanius, the Legion becomes even more brutal, but also more straightforward and predictable. Caesar's survival, or death, dramatically affects the Legion's approach to the battle. Caesar employs sophisticated strategy, using spies, deception, and careful planning. Laenius uses overwhelming force and aggression, accepting high casualties for direct victory. The courier's choice determines which version of the legion attacks Hoover Dam. The Omerta's conspiracy. The full scope of the Omerta's plot reveals the legion's intelligence capabilities. Legion Frumentari contacted Big Sal and Nero months before the battle, slowly corrupting them with promises of power and revenge against Mr. House. The Legion provided weapons, explosives, and a detailed plan. The Omertas were to wait until the battle for Hoover Dam began. When both the NCR and House of Securitrons were committed to the dam, the Omertas would attack the Strip from within. They would detonate explosives throughout Gomorrah, kill as many people as possible, and create chaos that would weaken House's control. The plan goes deeper. Legion infiltrators have been working throughout New Vegas, positioning weapons caches and identifying key targets. The Omerta's attack was meant to be the signal for a general uprising. Legion sleeper agents would attack simultaneously, attempting to overwhelm the Securitrons through coordinated surprise attacks. Caccino, the Omerta who opposes this plot, does so for personal rather than moral reasons. Big Sal and Nero cut him out of their conspiracy, and Caccino fears being killed as a loose end. However, his information is accurate, and stopping the Omertas prevents catastrophic damage to the Strip. If the Courier fails to stop the conspiracy, the Omerta's attack during the final battle causes mass casualties. The Strip burns, Securitrons are destroyed, and Mr. House's control weakens significantly. The Legion's plan succeeds partially, though they still must win at Hoover Dam to capitalize on the chaos. The White Glove Society's secret. The full truth about the White Glove Society's past emerges through investigation. Before Mr. House recruited them, they called themselves the Sawneys. They were not just cannibals, but ritualistic ones, believing that consuming human flesh brought them closer to enlightenment and superiority. The Sawneys developed elaborate ceremonies around their cannibalism. They hunted humans specifically, preserving certain organs and preparing meals with pre-war recipes. Their sophistication made them perfect for House's ultra-luxe, where their attention to detail and obsession with fine dining could be redirected toward legitimate cuisine. Mortimer never truly abandoned the old ways. He has been carefully grooming other white gloves, identifying those who miss the taste of human flesh. His plan to serve Ted Gunderson at the banquet is designed to break the taboo permanently. Once the White Gloves publicly return to cannibalism, they can never go back to House's legitimate casino operation. The Courier discovers evidence of Mortimer's plotting: hidden freezers, suspicious meat deliveries, and correspondence with co-conspirators. Marjorie, the White Glove Society's nominal leader, is unaware of the plot. When informed, she is horrified and helps the Courier stop Mortimer. If Mortimer succeeds, the White Glove Society's reputation is destroyed. The Ultralux becomes a notorious den of cannibals, and most visitors stay away. House loses one of his three families, weakening his control of the Strip. The White Gloves themselves become pariahs, hunted by other factions and reduced to their savage origins. The Enclave remnants represent the last survivors of the Enclave, a pre-war organization that styled itself as the legitimate U.S. government. The Enclave was destroyed by the Brotherhood of Steel and NCR years ago, but a few members escaped to the Mojave. Arcade Gannon, despite his youth, is connected to these remnants. His father was an Enclave officer who died fighting the NCR. Arcade was raised by his mother and the other remnants who fled to the Mojave. They adopted new identities and tried to live quiet lives, but they kept their advanced equipment and training. The remnants include Orion Moreno, a bitter soldier who hates the NCR; Cannibal Johnson, a former drill instructor turned hermit; Dr. Henry, a scientist working at Jacobstown; Judah Kreger, the level-headed former commander; and Daisy Whitman, a pilot who flew vertibirds for the Enclave. Convincing the remnants to fight requires the Courier's friendship with Arcade and persuasive arguments. Each remnant has reasons to stay hidden. Moreno wants revenge but fears death. Johnson has withdrawn from the world. Henry focuses on science. Courier fears leading his friends to destruction. Daisy wants peace after a lifetime of war. If convinced, the remnants agree to fight at Hoover Dam, but only for the Courier's chosen faction. They will not fight for the Legion, and they require convincing to help the NCR. Their preferred option is an independent New Vegas or Mr. House, as both allow them to strike against the NCR and Legion. The remnants' equipment is remarkable. They wear Enclave power armor, the most advanced armor in the wasteland. They wield plasma weapons and other energy-based firearms. Daisy pilots a vertibird, providing air support. Together, the 6 remnants equal a small army in combat effectiveness. During the final battle, the remnants arrive at the critical moment. Their firepower and armor turn the tide, destroying Legion units or routing NCR forces depending on who the Courier opposes. After the battle, the remnants disappear again, returning to their hidden lives. Their legacy is a single moment of glory, a last stand for the destroyed Enclave. Chief Hanlon's despair. Ranger Chief Hanlon, the hero of the first battle of Hoover Dam, has become disillusioned. Hanlon resides at Camp Gulf, nominally commanding NCR Rangers throughout the Mojave. However, he has lost faith in the NCR's mission and questions whether the Mojave campaign is worth the cost. Hanlon believes the NCR is overextended. The Republic controls too much territory with too few troops. Supply lines are stretched thin, and new territories drain resources that California desperately needs. Hanlon sees the NCR repeating mistakes of the old world, expanding endlessly until collapse becomes inevitable. To force the NCR to withdraw, Hanlon has been sabotaging his own side. He falsifies intelligence reports, exaggerating Legion strength, and minimizing NCR successes. Hanlon hopes that if the situation appears hopeless, the NCR government will order a withdrawal before more soldiers die. The Courier discovers Hanlon's deception through investigation. Hanlon's falsified reports have demoralized troops and caused strategic errors. Rangers have been pulled from effective positions based on phantom threats. NCR commanders make poor decisions using Hanlon's corrupted intelligence. Confronting Hanlon reveals a broken man. He is haunted by the soldiers who died under his command. The first battle of Hoover Dam was a nightmare of close combat and desperate fighting. Hanlon used tactical genius to win, but the victory cost hundreds of lives. He cannot bear the thought of another such battle. The Courier can convince Hanlon to stop his sabotage, report him to NCR authorities, or keep his secret. If convinced to stop, Hanlon resumes proper command and improves NCR readiness for the coming battle. If reported, Hanlon commits suicide before arrest, leaving a note taking responsibility for his actions. If the Courier keeps the secret, Hanlon continues undermining the NCR. Hanlon's fate during the battle depends on earlier choices. If he stopped his sabotage, Hanlon commands Rangers at Hoover Dam and fights brilliantly. If he continued his deception, his corrupt intelligence contributes to NCR defeats. After the battle, if Hanlon survived and redeemed himself, he retires with honor. If his crimes were exposed, he's remembered as a tragic figure who lost his way. The think tank. Far from the Mojave's political conflicts, in the Big MT research facility, bizarre experiments continue. The think tank consists of pre-war scientists who transferred their brains into machines, achieving a form of immortality. However, the process drove them insane, and they spent eternity conducting meaningless experiments. The Courier can visit Big MT through circumstances involving the mysterious Courier who was killed before the platinum chip delivery. This previous Courier had connections to Big MT, and investigating leads the Courier to this location. The think tank captures the Courier, removing their brain, heart, and spine for study. Somehow, the Courier survives as a walking corpse, held together by advanced technology. The think tank's experiments have created impossible technologies: a brain that can exist outside the body, a heart that beats independently, a spine that provides full mobility despite having no bone structure. The Courier must navigate Big MT's dangers to recover these organs. The facility is filled with failed experiments: murderous robot scorpions, homicidal plants, and twisted creatures that should not exist. The think tank scientists argue among themselves: each pursuing their own incomprehensible research. Dr. Mobius, another brain in a machine, opposes the think tank from his forbidden dome. The Courier learns that Dr. Mobius has been protecting the wasteland from the think tank. Despite their advanced technology, the think tank scientists are too insane to realize Mobius is deliberately keeping them trapped in Big MT. Mobius maintains various barriers and challenges that the think tank cannot overcome, preventing them from bringing their dangerous experiments to the outside world. The Courier can choose to help Mobius contain the think tank or help the think tank overcome Mobius. The choice affects what technologies become available and whether Big MT's horrors remain contained. The Courier also retrieves their brain, heart, and spine, though keeping them separated provides certain advantages. Big MT's technologies could revolutionize the Mojave. Energy weapons, medical advances, and agricultural innovations could transform wasteland life. However, these same technologies created the horrors inhabiting Big MT. The Courier must decide whether the risks outweigh the benefits. The divide. The divide represents the Courier's darkest secret, though the Courier does not remember it. Before the platinum chip delivery, the Courier made regular runs to a community in the divide. This community was thriving, building something new from the wasteland's ashes. The Courier unknowingly carried a package that destroyed everything. The package contained a detonator for pre-war nuclear warheads stored beneath the divide. When the Courier delivered this package, the warheads exploded, creating a second apocalypse in miniature. The entire community was annihilated. The land was torn apart, and deadly storms now rage through the divide's canyons. Ulysses, another Courier who refused the platinum chip delivery job, witnessed the divide's destruction. Ulysses blames the Courier for this catastrophe and has been watching the Courier's activities ever since. Ulysses believes the Courier must face the consequences of their actions, even if those actions were unknowing. Ulysses sends an invitation. Come to the divide and face judgment. The Courier travels to this blasted hellscape, navigating through radiation storms, marked men ghoulified, soldiers driven mad, and other dangers. The divide is a vision of total annihilation, what the entire world might have become. At the divide's heart, Ulysses waits. He explains what happened and why he holds the Courier responsible. Ulysses has developed a philosophy about symbols, nations, and the Courier's role in shaping the wasteland's future. He believes the Courier destroys nations simply by existing, carrying doom like a plague. Ulysses has discovered more nuclear weapons in the divide and plans to launch them at the NCR, Caesar's Legion, or both. He believes the only way to prevent the Courier from causing more destruction is to eliminate the factions fighting over the Mojave. Ulysses sees himself as preventing a greater catastrophe. The Courier can fight Ulysses, convince him through dialogue to stand down, or even join him in launching the missiles. The choice determines whether nuclear weapons strike either faction's heartland. These strikes, if they occur, dramatically weaken the targeted faction before the battle for Hoover Dam. Final preparations. As the second battle of Hoover Dam approaches, the Courier makes final preparations. Every faction contacted, every quest completed, and every alliance forged comes together. The Mojave's future will be decided in the coming battle. The Courier reviews their choices. Which faction deserves to control Hoover Dam and New Vegas? Does the NCR's democracy justify its imperialism? Does the Legion's order justify its cruelty? Does Mr. Parton, House's vision justify his autocracy? Or should the Courier trust themselves to forge something new? The companions who traveled with the Courier prepare for battle. Boone checks his rifle and prepares to kill more Legion soldiers. Arcade considers whether he should call the Enclave remnants. Veronica worries about the Brotherhood's future. Raoul maintains equipment and tells old stories. Lily takes her medicine and tries to remember why she is fighting. Cass loads her shotgun and takes a drink. Each companion has grown through their journey with the Courier. Boone has confronted his guilt over his wife's death. Arcade has decided whether to hide or fight. Veronica has questioned the Brotherhood's dogma. Raoul has found new purpose. Lily has managed her schizophrenia. Cass has moved beyond her bitterness. The Courier's influence has changed them, for better or worse. The Mojave holds its breath. Everyone knows the battle is coming. Civilians flee or hide. Soldiers check weapons and armor. Traders make final deals before trade routes close. The wasteland prepares for war. At Hoover Dam, NCR forces establish final defensive positions. Engineers prepare demolition charges to destroy the dam if defeat becomes inevitable. Rangers position snipers in the intake towers. Heavy troopers in power armor guard critical choke points. Vertibirds fly patrol routes. General Oliver coordinates from the visitor center, confident of victory. Across the Colorado River, Caesar's legion masses for the assault. Thousands of legionaries sharpen weapons and paint their bodies for war. Caesar Orlanius gives final speeches, promising glory and conquest. Frumentarii confirm that sabotage operations are ready. The Legion boat launches from Cottonwood Cove, begins ferrying troops across the river. In New Vegas, Mr. House's Securitrons patrol the streets. If the Platinum chip was delivered, the upgraded robots are ready to deploy. House monitors everything from the Lucky 38, his centuries of planning about to reach fruition. The three families prepare their casinos for lockdown. If the Courier chose independence, Yes Man coordinates final preparations. The Securitron army is ready, though Yes Man's perpetual optimism makes him seem unconcerned about the battle's outcome. The Courier must trust that the preparations were sufficient. The sun rises over the Mojave wasteland. The second battle of Hoover Dam begins. History will remember what happens next, and the Courier stands at the center of it all. The second battle of Hoover Dam. The opening assault. The Legion's attack begins at dawn, time to catch NCR forces during shift changes. Across multiple fronts, Legion forces surge forward in coordinated assaults. The main thrust targets Hoover Dam directly, but supporting attacks strike NCR positions throughout the region. At Ranger Station Charlie, legionaries pour across the Colorado River in boats and makeshift rafts. The outnumbered Rangers fight desperately, their sniper rifles cracking as they pick off Legion officers. The station's fortifications slow the Legion advance, but weight of numbers eventually overwhelms the defenders. Some Rangers retreat to secondary positions, while others fight to the death, buying time for evacuations. Camp Forlorn Hope comes under simultaneous attack from multiple directions. Legion forces that infiltrated during the night strike from within, while external forces assault the walls. The camp's weakened garrison struggles to coordinate a defense. Lieutenant Hayes rallies his troops, but the situation deteriorates rapidly. If the Courier strengthened the camp earlier, the defenders hold. If not, Camp Forlorn Hope falls within hours. Boulder City, still damaged from the first battle of Hoover Dam, becomes a battlefield again. Legion forces attempt to bypass the town and cut off NCR reinforcements heading to the dam. NCR troops establish hasty barricades among the ruins, fighting street to street. The battle for Boulder City becomes a grinding meat grinder that consumes soldiers from both sides. At Hoover Dam itself, the Legion's main force crosses the river en masse. Hundreds of boats and rafts carry legionaries toward the dam's western bank. NCR artillery opens fire, destroying many craft and killing dozens of Legion soldiers. The Colorado River runs red with blood as bodies float downstream. But the Legion accepts these casualties without hesitation, and waves of soldiers continue coming. The 1st Legion troops reach the dam's base and begin climbing. NCR defenders fire down from the dam's walkways, dropping grenades and shooting at the climbing legionaries. The Legion's assault seems suicidal, but their fanaticism drives them forward. Some legionaries carry explosive charges, intending to blow holes in the dam structure. NCR engineers scramble to identify and neutralize these threats. Legion forces also attack from the east, surging across the intact roadway that spans the dam's top. This becomes a killing ground as NCR heavy troopers and Rangers concentrate fire on the narrow approach. Securitrons roll forward, their weapon systems cutting down legionaries by the dozen. The roadway becomes clogged with bodies, forcing subsequent Legion waves to climb over their fallen comrades. General Oliver watches from the visitor center, tracking reports from across the battlefield. He maintains confident demeanor despite mounting casualties. Oliver believes the NCR's superior firepower and defensive positions will prevail, just as they did in the first battle. However, this battle is different, the Legion. learned from their previous defeat. The Legion's strategy unfolds. The frontal assaults, while costly, serve as distractions. Caesar, or Lanius, commanding from the eastern shore, has deployed the true killing stroke elsewhere. Legion Frumentarii have been infiltrating NCR positions for months, and now they activate. Inside Camp McCarran, Legion infiltrators reveal themselves. Soldiers who appeared to be loyal NCR troopers suddenly attack their comrades. Saboteurs detonate explosive charges in the airport's control tower and ammunition depot. The resulting chaos cripples McCarran's ability to coordinate reinforcements and air support. Vertibirds that could have provided critical fire support at Hoover Dam remain grounded. Similar attacks occur throughout the NCR's rear areas. Supply convoys are ambushed on the roads, communication lines are cut, key officers are assassinated. The Legion's intelligence network, built patiently over years, proves devastatingly effective. The NCR military machine, already strained by overextension, begins to fragment. At Hoover Dam, Legion forces employ new tactics. Instead of pure frontal assault, they use coordinated infiltration. Small teams of elite legionaries scale the dam's walls at multiple points, overwhelming defenders through surprise. These teams plant explosives and open gates, allowing larger Legion forces to penetrate the dam's interior. The fighting moves inside the dam's structure. NCR troopers and Legion soldiers battle through the power plant corridors, the visitor center halls, and the dam's maintenance tunnels. The close quarters combat favors the Legion's melee weapons and berserker charges. NCR troops fall back through the dam's levels, contesting every room. If Caesar survived his tumor, his sophisticated planning shows. The Legion attacks in waves calculated to exhaust NCR reserves while preserving their own strength. Caesar uses diversionary attacks to draw NCR forces out of position, then strikes exposed flanks. His understanding of strategy, learned from ancient Roman military texts, proves superior to General Oliver's straightforward defensive doctrine. If Lanius commands, the approach differs. Lanius accepts horrific casualties but maintains relentless pressure. Where Caesar would finesse, Lanius hammers. The monster of the East personally leads assaults, his massive blade cutting through NCR soldiers like wheat. Lanius inspires fanatical courage in his legionaries, who would rather die than disappoint their commander. The brutality is shocking, but the Legion's numbers and ferocity begin to tell. The NCR's desperate defense, Colonel Cassandra Moore, commanding NCR forces at the dam, reorganizes the defense as the situation deteriorates. Moore is ruthless and practical, willing to accept heavy casualties to hold the dam. She orders demolition charges prepared if the dam cannot be held, it must be destroyed to deny it to the Legion. The NCR's Ranger veterans prove their worth. Chief Hanlon, if he redeemed himself, commands the Rangers with brilliant tactical skill. Rangers hold key choke points, their marksmanship and power armor making them worth 10 ordinary soldiers each. Hanlon's understanding of the dam's layout allows him to position his Rangers for maximum effect, creating killing zones that stack Legion bodies. NCR heavy troopers in salvaged power armor form the defensive backbone. These soldiers, equipped with the heaviest weapons and armor the NCR can provide, hold the most critical positions. Miniguns, flamers, and heavy machine guns sweep Legion assault waves. The heavy troopers take horrible losses but refuse to break, buying time for defensive adjustments. If the Courier helped the NCR throughout the Mojave, these preparations pay dividends. The Boomer's artillery shells the Legion's eastern staging areas, disrupting their coordination. The Brotherhood of Steel, if allied with the NCR, deploys paladins in advanced power armor who turn the tide in crucial sectors. The Great Khans, if convinced to support the NCR, launch raids against Legion's supply lines. However, if the Courier weakened the NCR or helped the Legion, the defense crumbles faster. Sabotage positions collapse quickly. Missing supplies mean troops run out of ammunition at critical moments. Poor intelligence leads to tactical errors. The NCR's inherent organizational problems, exacerbated by the Courier's actions, create cascading failures. President Kimball's fate affects NCR morale significantly. If Kimball was assassinated earlier, many NCR soldiers question why they are fighting and dying in the Mojave. Some units surrender or retreat without orders. If Kimball survived, his earlier visit to the dam inspires the troops. Soldiers remember seeing their president and fight harder to vindicate his confidence. The battle's turning point. The battle reaches its crisis as both sides commit their final reserves. The Legion has pushed deep into Hoover Dam, capturing much of the eastern section. The NCR holds the western section and visitor center, but their line is bending. General Oliver orders a counterattack to drive the Legion back, committing his remaining troops. This is the moment when the Courier's choice determines the Mojave's future. If supporting Mr. House. Mr. House has been waiting for this exact moment. He allowed the NCR and Legion to exhaust each other, calculating casualties and combat effectiveness with cold precision. Now, with both armies weakened and committed, House deploys his Securitron army. The Lucky 38's doors open, and hundreds of Securitrons roll out. If the Courier delivered the Platinum chip, these are upgraded Mark II Securitrons with devastating firepower. The robots advance through Freeside, onto the Strip, and toward Hoover Dam in perfect formation. Their weapon systems, missiles, lasers, and Gatling guns operate with mechanical precision. The Securitron army hits the Legion's flank like a hammer. The robots feel no fear, accept no surrender, and fight with coordinated efficiency impossible for organic soldiers. Legion warriors, brave against human enemies, find themselves facing machines that cannot be intimidated or outflanked. The Securitron's firepower massacres entire Legion formations. At Hoover Dam, the Securitrons push through both NCR and Legion positions. House's programming is clear. Drive all foreign military forces from the dam and New Vegas. The robots attack Legion and NCR troops with equal ruthlessness. General Oliver, realizing House's betrayal, orders his troops to fight the Securitrons. But the NCR forces are exhausted and cannot mount effective resistance. The Courier, serving as House's personal agent, leads a team through the dam's interior. The goal is to reach the Legate's camp on the eastern side and confront the Legion's supreme commander. The Courier fights through Legion holdouts, the upgraded Securitrons providing overwhelming fire support. Emerging on the dam's eastern side, the Courier finds Caesar's command position, or the Legate's camp. If Caesar lived, he recognizes the situation's hopelessness and may order retreat. Caesar is intelligent enough to know when to preserve his forces. If the Courier allows it, Caesar withdraws across the river, accepting this defeat while planning future campaigns. If Lanius commands, he refuses retreat. The Legate believes surrender is worse than death and prepares to fight until every legionary lies dead. The Courier can choose to fight Lanius in single combat, a terrifying prospect given the Legate's reputation, or convince him through dialogue that continuing the battle serves no purpose. Lanius is a warrior who respects strength and understands logistics. The Courier can argue that the Legion's supply lines are overextended, that House's Securitron army is invincible, and that dying at Hoover Dam serves no purpose. Lanius, despite his brutality, is pragmatic. If convinced the battle truly is lost, he orders retreat rather than waste his army's strength. With the Legion defeated or retreating and the NCR driven off, House's Securitrons secure Hoover Dam. The robots establish perimeter positions and begin repairs. Mr. House's voice broadcasts across the Mojave, announcing that New Vegas is now truly independent under his rule. The NCR and Legion have both been expelled, and the Mojave enters a new era. If supporting the NCR, the Courier coordinates the NCR's defense, using knowledge gained throughout the Mojave. Every alliance forged and favor earned activates. The Boomers launch their bomber, which strafes Legion positions with devastating effect. The Brotherhood Paladins, if allied, push through Legion lines like armored juggernauts. The Courier's companions fight beside NCR soldiers, their unique skills making crucial differences. The Courier leads a strike team through the dam to the eastern side, targeting the Legion command structure. NCR Rangers provide covering fire as the Courier battles through the Legion's elite forces. The goal is to kill or drive off the Legion's supreme commander, breaking their attack's cohesion. Confronting Caesar, if he lives, offers the chance for dialogue. Caesar respects the Courier's capabilities and is willing to negotiate if the battle is clearly lost. The Courier can convince Caesar to withdraw, saving both sides further casualties. Alternatively, the Courier can kill Caesar, decapitating the Legion's leadership and ensuring their defeat. Facing Lanius requires either superior combat ability or persuasive arguments. Lanius is a pure warrior, and defeating him in single combat earns the Legion's respect. Alternatively, the Courier can argue that the Legion cannot win this battle and that Lanius has responsibility to preserve his army. Lanius may accept these arguments, especially if Caesar is dead and Lanius bears sole responsibility for the Legion's future. With the Legion defeated, the NCR secures Hoover Dam. General Oliver arrives to claim credit for the victory, as expected. Oliver dismisses the Courier's contributions and focuses on his own triumph. Ambassador Crocker is more gracious, thanking the Courier for their service and promising the NCR will remember. The NCR flag rises over Hoover Dam, and the dam's power flows west to California. The Mojave becomes NCR territory, and occupation begins immediately. NCR, military police establish order, bureaucrats arrive to organize territorial administration, and the slow process of integration starts. If supporting Caesar's Legion, the Courier serves as Caesar's agent, striking at the NCR's weakest points. If the Courier sabotaged NCR positions earlier, these efforts pay off now. Undermanned camps fall quickly. Broken supply lines mean NCR troops run out of ammunition. Assassinated officers create command chaos. The Courier leads Legion forces through the dam, identifying and eliminating key NCR defensive positions. The Courier's knowledge of the dam's layout, possibly gained from Mr. House earlier, allows Legion forces to bypass NCR strongpoints and attack from unexpected directions. The fighting is brutal as NCR troops realize they are losing. Some units break and retreat. Others fight to the death, refusing to surrender to the Legion's slavery and crucifixion. The veteran Rangers make the Legion pay for every inch, but they cannot hold against overwhelming numbers and the Courier's strategic strikes. General Oliver, cornered in the visitor center, refuses to retreat. Oliver's arrogance and stubbornness prevent him from accepting defeat. The Courier confronts Oliver, who denounces the Courier as a traitor to civilization. Oliver can be killed in combat or convinced to order NCR withdrawal, though convincing him is difficult given his pride. With NCR resistance broken, Caesar, or Lanius, crosses the Colorado River to personally claim victory. If Caesar lives, he surveys the battlefield with satisfaction. His vision of conquest moves forward, and the Mojave is now Legion territory. Caesar speaks with the Courier, offering a place of honor in his empire, while acknowledging the Courier will never truly be one of them. If Lanius conquered the dam, he immediately begins organizing occupation. Lanius is less interested in governing than in continuing conquest. He views Hoover Dam merely as a stepping stone to attacking California itself. The monster of the East already plans the next campaign. The Legion flag rises over Hoover Dam. NCR survivors are rounded up, men are enslaved or forced into Legion service, women become property, and children are taken for indoctrination. The Mojave's transformation into Legion territory begins immediately, with all the brutality that implies. If choosing independence, the Courier activates Yes Man's plan to take control of House's systems. If the Courier killed House earlier, this process is straightforward. If House still lives in his pod, the Courier must decide his fate now. Opening the pod kills House within moments, his ancient body unable to survive exposure. Yes Man takes over the Lucky 38 and the Securitron army. The upgraded robots deploy from hidden bunkers throughout New Vegas, rolling toward Hoover Dam. Yes Man is cheerful and helpful as always, providing tactical updates and controlling the Securitrons remotely. The Securitron army attacks both the NCR and Legion at Hoover Dam. The robots push through the battle, their firepower overwhelming exhausted human forces. The Courier leads personally, demonstrating to both armies that New Vegas will not be controlled by foreign powers. The Courier confronts the Legion's commander on the dam's eastern side. Whether facing Caesar or Lanius, the message is clear. The Mojave is independent, and the Legion must withdraw. If Caesar leads, he may accept this outcome, recognizing that the Securitron army makes conquest impossible. If Lanius commands, he likely chooses battle, forcing the Courier to defeat him through combat or dialogue. General Oliver must also be confronted. Oliver is outraged that the Courier, a mere civilian in his eyes, would dare challenge the NCR military. Oliver refuses to accept independent New Vegas and must be killed or convinced to withdraw. Convincing Oliver requires pointing out that his army is exhausted. The Securitrons are invincible, and continuing to fight serves no purpose except NCR casualties. With both armies expelled from Hoover Dam, the Courier and Yes Man secure the facility. The Securitrons establish defensive positions, and Yes Man announces that New Vegas is free and independent. The Mojave's future now rests in the Courier's hands, for better or worse. Yes Man mentions his personality upgrade, becoming a little more assertive. The implications are unclear. Will Yes Man remain obedient, or will his increased assertiveness eventually lead to independence from the Courier's control? The ending leaves this question unanswered, hinting at potential complications in New Vegas's independent future. The battle's aftermath. As the fighting ends and the sun sets over Hoover Dam, the Mojave wasteland has been transformed. Thousands lie dead NCR troopers, Legion soldiers, and Mojave civilians caught in the crossfire. The Colorado River is choked with bodies. Smoke rises from burning vehicles and buildings. The Second Battle of Hoover Dam has ended, but at terrible cost. Medical personnel from all sides struggle to treat the wounded. The followers of the apocalypse, if they survive the battle, move through the carnage, providing aid regardless of faction. Their humanitarian mission continues even as the political situation resolves. Julie Farkas and her doctors save lives that soldiers tried to take, proving that some values transcend war. The Mojave's communities learn the battle's outcome and begin adapting to their new reality. Towns that supported the winning faction celebrate, while those who back the losers worry about retribution. Refugees flee from territories now controlled by hostile forces. Traders calculate new routes based on which faction controls which roads. In New Vegas, the casinos assess their situations. The three families must adjust to their new rulers, whether House, the NCR, the Legion, or the Courier. The Tops, Gomorrah, and the Ultralux each face different fates based on the Courier's earlier actions and the battle's outcome. Some families prosper under new management, while others are destroyed or disbanded. Freeside's population, swelled by refugees, faces uncertainty. The kings must navigate the new political reality. If the NCR won, tensions between the kings and NCR authorities continue or resolve based on earlier events. If the Legion conquered, Freeside faces occupation and enslavement. If House or the Courier controls New Vegas, Freeside's fate depends on how much attention the new rulers pay to the slums outside the Strip. Personal endings for key characters. Throughout the Mojave, individuals face the consequences of the Courier's choices and their own decisions during the campaign. Boone, if he survived the battle, must find new purpose. If the NCR won, Boone continues hunting Legion remnants, his vengeance unquenched. If the Legion conquered, Boone either died fighting or escaped to continue resistance. If New Vegas achieved independence, Boone remains uncertain about his place in the new order. His wife's death and his guilt continue haunting him, though the Courier's friendship provided some measure of peace. Arcade Gannon faces outcomes based on his actions during the battle. If Arcade called the Enclave remnants to fight for the NCR or an independent New Vegas, he feels pride in standing up for his beliefs. If he fought for the Legion, or if the Legion won despite his opposition, Arcade is captured and enslaved, his medical skills exploited by Caesar. If Arcade avoided the battle entirely, He continues his work with the followers, but carries guilt about not fighting. Veronica's future depends on the Brotherhood of Steel's fate. If the Brotherhood was destroyed, Veronica is devastated, her entire life's foundation shattered. She must decide whether to preserve the Brotherhood's ideals alone or abandon them. If the Brotherhood survived, Veronica returns to Hidden Valley, continuing to question whether the Brotherhood's isolation serves any purpose. Her relationship with Christine, her lost love, continues to haunt her. Raoul, the ghoul mechanic, finds different endings based on his experiences with the Courier. If the Courier encouraged Raoul to embrace his gunslinger past, he becomes a vigilante protecting Mexican communities. If the Courier encouraged Raoul to remain a mechanic, he establishes a successful repair shop. If the Courier did nothing special, Raoul continues drifting, skilled but purposeless. His centuries of life have taught him survival, but the Courier's influence determines whether he thrives or merely exists. Lily, the Nightkin's fate depends on her medication choices during the journey. If she took her medicine regularly, she maintains her sanity but loses memories of her grandchildren. If she stopped taking medicine, her schizophrenia worsens and she becomes dangerous. A moderate approach allows her to balance sanity and memory, achieving the best outcome. Lily returns to Jacobstown or wanders the wastes, her massive strength and gentle heart making her both terrifying and endearing. Cass, the hard-drinking caravaner, either rebuilds her life or succumbs to alcoholism. If the Courier helped her get revenge against the Crimson Caravan and Van Graffs for destroying her caravan business, she finds closure. If that revenge was denied, bitterness consumes her. Cass's ending varies dramatically. She might establish a successful trading company, drink herself to death, or find love and stability depending on the Courier's influence. Rex, the Courier's cyberdog companion, receives a new brain to replace his failing one. The source of this brain determines Rex's personality and abilities. A friendly dog's brain makes Rex loyal and gentle. A violent dog's brain makes Rex aggressive and dangerous. A legion mongrel's brain makes Rex exceptionally vicious. The Courier's choice in selecting Rex's new brain shapes the dog's future behavior. EDE, the iBot companion, has ties to both the Brotherhood of Steel and the Enclave. EDE's data contains valuable information about Enclave technology and Poseidon energy weapons research. The Courier's choice of who receives EDE's data, the Brotherhood or the followers of the Apocalypse, affects what weapons and technology become available in the Mojave's future. The fate of major factions, the Great Khans face wildly different futures based on their choices and the battle's outcome. If convinced to leave the Mojave and migrate to Wyoming, the Khans establish a new empire in the north. Using knowledge gained from reading about Caesar's rise, they conquer and unify tribes, creating a powerful nation. If the Khans sided with the winning faction at Hoover Dam, they receive territory and protection as rewards. If they back the losing side, they are hunted down and destroyed. The Brotherhood of Steel either thrives, survives, diminished, or is annihilated. If destroyed per Mr. House's orders, the Brotherhood's technology is lost and their ideals die. If they allied with the NCR and the NCR won, the Brotherhood enters an uncomfortable partnership, slowly losing autonomy. If they remained isolated, the Brotherhood continues hiding in their bunker, irrelevant to the Mojave's future. Elder McNamara, or Hardin, depending on who leads, determines how the Brotherhood adapts to their circumstances. The followers of the Apocalypse struggle under most outcomes. Their humanitarian mission continues regardless of who controls the Mojave, but different rulers provide different levels of support. The NCR offers some assistance, but buries the followers in bureaucracy. The Legion destroys or scatters them. Mr. House ignores them unless they prove useful. An independent courier can choose to support them generously or leave them to struggle. The followers represent pure altruism in a wasteland that rarely rewards such virtue. The Boomers return to Nellis Air Force Base with their restored bomber. Having participated in the battle, they gain confidence in dealing with outsiders. However, the Boomers remain essentially isolationist, using their artillery to maintain independence. The outcome at Hoover Dam determines whether nearby powers view the Boomers as allies or threats. But the Boomers continue their unique culture regardless. The Powder Gangers, a minor faction of escaped convicts, are hunted down and eliminated by whichever force controls the Mojave. Their brief period of freedom ends as organized powers reassert control. Some individual powder gangers escape, but the faction ceases to exist. Their legacy is merely chaos and suffering inflicted on Mojave travelers and communities. New Vegas under different rules. The Strip and Freeside face transformation based on who won the battle. Under Mr. House's continued rule, New Vegas prospers economically. The casinos operate efficiently, generating enormous wealth. House invests in technology and infrastructure, making New Vegas increasingly advanced. However, House's authoritarianism means no political freedom exists. House controls every aspect of life on the Strip, and dissent is crushed. Freeside improves slightly as House needs stable surrounding areas, but the slums remain poor and desperate. Under NCR control, New Vegas is annexed as NCR territory. The casinos are heavily taxed and regulated. NCR bureaucrats arrive in force, imposing laws and collecting revenue. Democracy and legal rights extend to New Vegas residents, but so do NCR taxes and draft requirements. The Strip loses some of its independent character as it becomes another NCR city. Freeside sees modest improvements as the NCR provides basic services, but the area remains troubled. Under Legion control, New Vegas is radically transformed. The casinos are shut down as centers of vice and degeneracy. Technology is destroyed or controlled. The population is sorted. Men are pressed into Legion service or slave labor. Women become property. Children are indoctrinated. The Strip's lights go dark as the Legion rejects electricity and modern technology as weakness. New Vegas becomes just another conquered territory, its unique character erased under Roman uniformity. Under independent control by the Courier, New Vegas's fate varies based on the Courier's choices and personality. A benevolent Courier might create a prosperous, free city-state. A ruthless Courier might establish a personal dictatorship as oppressive as House's. An incompetent Courier might allow chaos and gang warfare. The independent ending offers the most variability because everything depends on the Courier's wisdom, morality, and management skills. The wider world reacts. Beyond the Mojave, the wider wasteland reacts to Hoover Dam's outcome. The new California Republic's core territories learn of the battle's results. If the NCR won, celebrations occur and President Kimball's expansionist policies are vindicated. The NCR prepares to fully integrate the Mojave, sending more settlers and administrators. If the NCR lost, political crisis erupts. Kimball faces impeachment or assassination. The Republic's expansion halts, and isolationist factions gain power. The NCR military contracts, abandoning forward positions. Caesar's legion's eastern territories respond to their commander's success or failure. If the legion conquered Hoover Dam, Caesar's prestige grows and more tribes submit voluntarily. The legion's march west continues toward California. If Caesar died during the campaign, succession struggles tear the legion apart as various legates fight for supreme command. If the legion was defeated, subject tribes rebel, and the empire faces potential collapse. The Brotherhood of Steel's other chapters learn of their Mojave brothers' fate. If the Mojave chapter was destroyed, other Brotherhood chapters become more cautious and isolationist, fearing they will face similar destruction. If the Mojave chapter thrived, other chapters reconsider their extreme isolation policies. The Brotherhood's wider organization remains fragmented, with each chapter pursuing its own interpretation of the Brotherhood's mission. The Enclave, reduced to scattered survivors, sees the remnants' participation at Hoover Dam as either a final, glorious stand or a foolish waste of remaining resources. The Enclave, as an organization, no longer exists, but individual former members continue surviving throughout the wasteland, their advanced technology and training making them formidable even in isolation. Years after the battle, time passes, and the Mojave settles into its new reality. The immediate post-battle chaos gives way to established order, for better or worse. Under House's rule, New Vegas becomes increasingly technological and prosperous. House implements long-term plans for space colonization and technological transcendence. The Mojave becomes a center of innovation. The though personal freedom remains restricted. House proves to be an effective administrator, and life expectancy and quality increase for those who obey his rules. The question remains whether House's vision truly benefits humanity or merely serves his own ego. Under NCR control, the Mojave slowly transforms into California-style civilization. Roads improve, schools open, and law enforcement expands. Democracy and bureaucracy arrive together. Some Mojave residents appreciate the stability and rights the NCR provides. Others resent taxation, regulation, and loss of independence. The NCR's corruption and inefficiency create ongoing problems, but overall quality of life improves for most people. The Mojave becomes another contested political territory within the Republic, with senators representing the region in the NCR Congress. Under Legion control, the Mojave becomes part of Caesar's empire. Tribal identities are erased, technology is suppressed, and Roman culture is imposed. Slavery becomes universal. Order is absolute, maintained through brutal punishment. Women lose all rights and become property. The Mojave's unique character disappears, replaced by uniform Legion culture. Some argue that the Legion's order is preferable to wasteland chaos. But the cost in freedom and humanity is immense. Under independent control, the Mojave's future depends entirely on the Courier's management and Yes Man's programming. The best outcomes see New Vegas become a prosperous, free city-state that balances security and liberty. The worst outcomes see the region descend into anarchy as the Courier proves unable to maintain order. Most likely, the independent Mojave muddles through, neither utopian nor dystopian, with the Courier learning to govern through trial and error. The Courier's final reflection. Standing atop Hoover Dam after the battle, the Courier reflects on the journey from that shallow grave near Good Springs. The quest for revenge against Benny transformed into something far larger. The Courier shaped the Mojave's future, determined which civilization would rise and which would fall, and influenced countless lives. The platinum chip, the object that started everything, has fulfilled its purpose. Whether it upgraded House's robots, empowered the Courier, or became irrelevant, its delivery changed history. Benny's ambition and betrayal set events in motion that he never imagined and could never control. The Courier's companions, the factions allied or destroyed, the communities helped or harmed, all reflect the Courier's choices. The Mojave is different because the Courier passed through it. Whether that difference is positive or negative depends on perspective and outcome. The wasteland continues, as it always has. The strong survive, the weak perish, and humanity struggles to rebuild from nuclear ashes. The Courier proved that individuals matter, that choices have consequences, and that the future is not predetermined. One person, shot in the head and left for dead, changed the course of history. The sun sets over the Mojave wasteland. Hoover Dam's generators hum, providing power to whoever controls them. The Colorado River flows as it has for millennia, indifferent to human struggles on its banks. New Vegas's lights shine in the distance, a beacon of pre-war civilization preserved or transformed. The Courier's story is complete. The tale of Fallout New Vegas concludes not with a single definitive ending, but with multiple possible futures, each shaped by the Courier's choices throughout the journey. The Mojave's fate, whether it becomes a beacon of hope or a cautionary tale, depends on the path the Courier chose and the allies they made or betrayed. The wasteland endures, humanity endures, and in the Mojave, because of one Courier's journey, the future arrived at Hoover Dam and took a different path than anyone expected. The game is over. The story is told. The Mojave's future has begun. Thank you for watching and spending this time in the Mojave. If you enjoyed the video, like it and subscribe. It really helps the channel. I'll see you in the next one.